Hey guys, Archer for the Lord here. I wanted to share with you another great tactical game. This one is between Tim Wall of Great Britain. His opponent playing black was Dean Ippolito of the United States. This is kind of an older game. It was played in 1998 in Hampstead, England. And the reason I really wanted to show it to you is because it's very tactical. It involves a lot of sacrifices, and it shows what can happen basically if you keep taking too much material from your opponent. You'll notice during the game, black is very materialistic. Right from the onset, he tries to hold on to a pawn, and from there he just keeps taking material as it's offered, and eventually white just ends up getting the upper hand because so much material is sacrificed. Tim Wall begins with e4. Next move is e5, f4, signaling the king's gambit. He takes f4. Now normally normal moves would be knight f3, blocking the queen check right here, and also bishop c4, which intends to answer this queen check with king to f1, followed by the knight to f3, which gains a tempo on the queen. Here we see a very unusual move, knight c3. This move, like bishop c4, is planning to put an extra defender on the d5 square to dissuade d5. The problem with this is that it doesn't address the queen check. And so after queen h4, which was played in the game, king e2 must be played. Now obviously we can't go back and play something like g3, otherwise this pawn's going to capture. We can't really capture back, and we're threatening a discovered check. Oops. My computer's not having a good day. So after king e2, black plays d6. Clearly the light squared bishop is going to be coming to g4 very soon. It's going to be necessary for us to play this move, knight f3. Of course, bishop g4 is played, and then white plays d4. So white's got his control of the center like you wanted, but at what cost? He's currently down a pawn, and he also has his king. His king's no longer able to castle. He's blocking two of his pieces. In my opinion, this isn't really worth it. Black still has the central pawn, black still has the two bishops, and he's up a pawn. And I don't really think white has good compensation here. So black's next move is g5. He holds on to this pawn. It was possible to let the pawn go too and just play something normal like knight to f6, knight to c6, something like that. But this move inspires white to go on the offensive, despite having only a few pieces developed. Knight d5 is played. And here we see black go wrong probably for the first time. Black plays king d8. Obviously the threat was to capture on the c7 square and fork the king and rook, but I think black gets a much better game if he just plays knight a6, developing a new piece, protecting the square. It's not going to be easy for white to just move out of the way and capture the knight, and even so this white squared bishop is going to be much more valuable than the dark squared one, which is currently blocked in by these pawns. So, say after a move like knight a6, king d2, threatening to take the knight, queen f2 check, queen e2, queen takes e2, bishop takes e2, bishop takes f3, g takes f3, and then king d7. So, even if the bishop is traded for this knight, the king's still going to protect this square. Black's doing just fine here, and all in all, this game appears to be well on its way. After the move king d8, we see white kind of preparing to use this knight in a different way. King d3 was played. Now the knight can actually trade itself for the queen, and then after the bishop retakes, he may be able to free himself a little bit better. Black right here probably should either take the knight or move the queen somewhere. There's really not much more profit for the queen to be here anymore, and it could do much better, say if it goes to f2 or maybe even back to h6. But black plays c6, which allows white the time it needs to play a little tactic, and that's going to be queen to d2. Now, this move does two things. First of all, it threatens queen to a5 check. This is so strong because if black tries to block it, then the knight can just capture because this pawn's going to be pinned to the rook. And if black tries to move out of the way, then the queen can come into c7, which is protected by the knight, and it's going to be really bad for black. The other thing that threatens, obvious, he's no longer in the pin, so the knight can take the queen for free, which basically forces black's reply of bishop takes f3. Now, white now plays queen a5 check. Another alternative was actually just to play g takes f3, and after c takes d5, you can still play queen a5 check, king d7, queen takes d5, knight c6, queen takes f7, bishop e7. But this one's not as good. The queen gets a bunch of pawns for the piece, but black's development is really coming along now, and white's development is still kind of hampered by these pawns and by the closeness of the enemy queen, and it's going to have to constantly worry about this f3 pawn being attacked, and also the king blocks one of the bishops, and this pawn blocks the other one. So this is so-so. The computer kind of likes it better than queen a5, but I don't know. From a human standpoint, I would go with queen a5. b6, of course, is played. Knight takes b6, and seeing as he's going to lose this bishop anyway, black decides to get a tempo by playing bishop takes e4. Of course, even after a takes b6, queen takes a8, and black's still going to lose a piece, because even if he moves his bishop back, the knight's under attack. So that's why bishop takes e4 was played, king takes e4, and then a takes b6. After queen takes a8, probably the losing move here for black was queen e1 check. It makes a lot of sense because black is trying to prevent these bishops from coming out, which prevents the rooks from coming out. So essentially this queen, you could say, it's paralyzing the entire back rank here. But you're going to see white gets out of this pretty easily. Much better than queen e1 would probably be d5. The point of d5 is that you intend to play, after the king moves, bishop to d6, developing another piece, protecting the knight, and really keeping the tension up on white. So after queen e1, of course, white just plays king d3, king c8 to protect the knight. Obviously here d5 is no longer a check, so that's not going to be possible. And then black has a very strong move. I wonder if you can see it. I'll give you a couple seconds. See if you can find the move. Okay. Here black, unless he does something, white, unless he does something, is pretty much hogtied. He can't move these pieces without losing his rooks. His queen really doesn't have any more checks, so the only thing he has to do is sacrifice. And the best way to do this is bishop takes f4. And this looks absurd. Both of the pieces are on pre, they're both being attacked, but it's actually not good to take either. Obviously, if the pawn captures the bishop, then black loses his queen. So black in the game plays queen takes a1, and then white has another stunning move, just really completely shattering black's position, and this one is bishop e2. Of course here, same threat again. The rook's threatening to take the queen, so the queen has to either give itself up or do something about this. And in this case, the computer kind of likes sacrificing the queen better and just trying to develop as quickly as possible with knight f6, and after rook takes a1, g takes f4. This could really go still either way. Black's pieces are finally getting coordinated, but I think white's still going to have a pretty big advantage here, just for the fact that it's got two pieces against the queen, and that's not really good. The black king's safe for the time being, but I think after white coordinates his pieces, he'll be better here. But of course, instead of seeing this, after bishop e2, black again goes to material with queen takes h1, and now it's actually a forced mate. White plays, well, here, I'll once again let you see if you can find the move. It's pretty straightforward though. Okay, of course the move is going to be bishop g4 check. Black tries to throw in this move to help his king have an escape route, but it doesn't really matter. F5, bishop takes f5, check. The king must move. Obviously, it doesn't really have anywhere that it can go that's that great. So king c7, queen a7 check, king d8, queen takes b8 check, king e7, trying to run away, queen d6 check. After king e7, there's actually a faster mate. Once again, I'll give you some time to see if you can find it. It's white to play in mate in 2. Okay, so the move that Tim Wall missed was bishop takes d7 check, and after the black king moves, queen takes f8's mate, whether he's on f7 or f6. But of course, queen takes d6 was actually played, king f7, queen e6 check, king g7 check, and then bishop e5 check. Bishop finally gets out from being on pre from the pawn, checks the king. So pretty much after the knight blocks, it's just going to get captured, and it's mate in 1 after that. So this game I thought was really great. A whole lot of tactics for really both sides. White's maneuver of getting his queen out to exploit this this dark square diagonal I thought was just excellent. And then finally the double rook sacrifice at the end. You know, these players are not grandmasters. These guys are, I think one of them at the time was an IM. But, I mean, it's just really amazing to see play like this, you know, from non-GMs. And I know for me, I'd never have the courage to do stuff like this in my game. So maybe we can both learn from it. I hope you guys got something out of this game. And as always, comments and ratings are appreciated. Thanks.